Exactly. All
Very
right. Well,
clever.
I don't know. Are you guys loose enough? I think I'm loose enough.
I'm good.
Okay, good. I'm ready to go. Deep breath. All right. Welcome back to another edition of the Pear Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Pauls, the brand guardian, new for season 2.5. We're just coming out of summer. And with me is the brand alchemist, Kathy Pauls, as always. And today we have special guest Brian Maas from intentionalselling.com. Comes to us via the Jamie White from Mexico. So it's nice to meet you, Brian. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to have you on. I met with you last week, and I swear I was just basically having a conversation with an old friend that's basically just
Yeah,
like me in sales. And I'm like, oh wow, I think we talked for over an hour. It was just
yeah.
so easy. Us sales guys, we know how to talk, so it was a
That's
great,
right. Yes.
yeah, it was a great time. It was great meeting you, and I guess I'll just give you a chance to have the floor and just to tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I work with presidents and founders of small businesses who are either trying to get out of sales and into just managing the business, but they struggle with trying to find a salesperson, or they've hired someone who hasn't worked out, which can end up costing them a lot of money in the long run. So, with my background as being a sales manager for 23 plus years, I made the same mistake, right? I hired wrong. It cost me, it cost the company, it cost stress and all kinds of issues. And I thought, how do I help some of these business owners to prevent making the same mistakes? And one thing I learned is that they just don't have a good process or systems in place to hire effectively. And when I first got into my business, I thought I was going to be a fractional sales leader, and what I started finding was that a lot of these companies I was talking to were struggling with hiring the right salespeople. And I said, well, look, I've got a process for that. Let's run through this. And it opened up a whole new world for me. And just my instinct just said, look, there's a big gap here that can be filled. And I'm intuitive enough to just go, let's fix it, because I'm a systems and process guy myself. So it's been really good being able to help people in that way. So.
I love that you use the word intuitive alongside of process and systems because a lot of
No,
people don't make
yeah.
that connection, you know? And I think that is a beautiful place to lead from your brand. The fact that, yes, I have systems and processes, but also I lead from intuition. So if we lean into
Yeah.
that, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to trust your instincts?
That's just something that's kind of always come naturally for me. I'm one of those where if somebody says some type of a fact or makes a statement, I'm kind of like always thinking, well, let's prove that out. Where's the data come from on that? I just seem to have a sense of things and people and processes that I try to make sense of, for me, to be able to see through any BS, but to also help, uh, you know, bring to light that there's a better way to do things. I'm always trying to find a better way to be more efficient, have a better process, or help people see things differently that they may not see. And I just feel like that might be, a gift of mine. So,
Oh, what a superpower.
Yeah,
thanks.
I was gonna ask you, Brian, have you noticed with the new generation coming in, how different they are than, let's say, our generation or, one younger than us? I feel like they're very intuitive, and whereas Gen X, I feel like we were taught not to listen to our intuition.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. I end up working with a lot of second and third generation business owners who, want to do it differently than mom or dad did it in their business. And they're intuitive enough to know that they can't keep doing the same things that got them to where they are. They've got to change and pivot and think differently about, how they're going to build the business. And they want their own brand or legacy, to follow them. So they're thinking about it differently as well. And, that's where I try to come in and get along with them and help them see that there's a better way to do things. And oftentimes, mom and dad didn't have that intuition or the systems and processes in place, and so I think they appreciate it.
For sure. I think one of the things that nobody wants to hear, especially in today's generation, is that's how we've always done it. Nobody
Exactly.
wants to hear that
Yes.
anymore. There's better
Right.
ways to do things, and that should be
Yep.
socially acceptable to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree.
And the better way of doing things now involves AI. So there's this whole
Yes.
next level of how do we sell and make it feel human and not just like we don't want to mimic AI and ChatGPT where they can just kind of pump out a bunch of things, ways to sell. So how do you bring the human along with it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of times where I'll use AI with my clients in terms of how they draw up their identity, their ideal client profile, or how the sales rep messages or opens up the conversation with a prospect. That might even be how they differentiate themselves in the marketplace. But I use it in a way to kind of frame things up, but we've got to bring the human element back in and say, okay, as we deliver this, how are we portraying it as humans? And how do we not make it sound like AI or like it was created by, a machine? Yeah, there's a good balance there of trying to help the sales organization understand that there's a tool. It's people, process, and technology, right? And so people, and in that order, right? So we bring the people element into it, we bring the process together with it, and if we can't solve the problem with people and process, then we bring technology in to help us, you know, strengthen or get us aligned with whatever it is we're trying to accomplish.
Amazing. So for me, technically I'm a small business owner. It's just me and Alex in our business, and we've been in communities
Yeah.
of other small business owners, um, hiring the wrong salesperson. So when you're looking for the right salesperson, is it true that only certain people can be salesmen? Like, is there like a special something that they have that maybe somebody like me wouldn't have? Or can I be taught to be a salesman?
Yeah. Well, yes and no to that answer. Some of those things are inherent in us. Some of those things can be taught. So, for example, I use a sales talent assessment that measures really three main categories: that will to sell, which is kind of embedded in us. You have the commitment or the motivation or the outlook and desire to sell. And then you've got what we call sales DNA. Those are all the things that self-limiting beliefs that we may have had as we've grown up as young people. Those self-limiting beliefs can get in the way of how we sell. And then there's all the tactical stuff. There's all of the, how we prospect, how we ask questions, how we gain commitment, and all the things that happen in the dialogue that happens with a prospect. Those things can be taught. All the tactical stuff can be taught. The will to sell and that sales DNA, those are things that are a little bit more inherent in us and more embedded in our being. They're swayable and can be coached to change. It just takes a lot longer to do so. So, oftentimes, when somebody hires a salesperson, they hire them based on a gut feel because of how that person portrayed themselves. They came across they had great presence. They were really able to sell themselves. They were, very effective in their communication and persuasive. But you put them into that organization, and now, the wheels start to come off after the first few weeks, and they're not doing the things that you thought that they had the background of doing. And I think of that talent assessment is kind of the MRI, if you will, of kind of going deeper and finding that will to sell and that sales DNA so that you understand a little bit more about the stuff we can't see in an interview. So that's the piece that is part of the process that I think you have to have that, I'll call it technology, to be able to go beyond just our instincts and our subjectiveness when we're hiring, be very objective when we're interviewing candidates.
See, now you would think that as if I was the one sitting there and that person convinced me that they were the one to hire, I'm like, well, you've done a really good job selling yourself. So you know what? You're hired to sell for me. And then they come in and it's like, oh crap, they're not selling for me. I feel like that's the gap. That's the space in between where you would come in perfectly and say, that's okay. You did actually hire the right person. Here's the framework to help them thrive in that space now.
Right, right. I mean, I've got clients where they've already hired somebody, right? And I can evaluate that sales candidate and say, okay, yes, this person's got some really good strengths about them. They've they're lined with some of the key competencies that you need. And then here's the gaps. Here's the things we got to work on. So it's coaching them on all of the tactical, or coaching them on some of that sales DNA stuff that they may not have fully developed. And it's working with the president or owner or the sales leader to help them, close those gaps that they might be missing that they didn't catch when they were hired. That's not to mean everybody's perfect. And when they're hired as a salesperson, we've all got weaknesses. We've all got areas where, we got to develop. It's knowing and seeing where those strengths and opportunities for growth are, so at least we're aware of it and we can now, move forward to build a better salesperson as we progress in the onboarding and their time in selling.
I was going to
That
ask
really
you, Brian.
does.
Oh, sorry, dear. I was just going to ask Brian quick. What do you think are some of the most interesting variables when it comes to sales? Like when a new person comes in, what are the variables that can affect them negatively and positively that you've noticed?
Yeah, some of this goes to a couple of things. One might be the systems and processes that they come into. Do they have a good sales process? Do they understand the metrics by which they're going to be measured by? What's the level of coaching that they're going to get? What's the culture that they're in? Do they have a clear plan as to how they're going to be successful? Like, where's the growth going to come from? What are we expecting them to do? A lot of it comes down to setting the expectations and then holding them accountable to that. When you have systems and processes in place, it just makes it more clearer for the sales leader or the president owner and that salesperson and everybody else in the organization as to what's expected. Because there's all kinds of other people in an organization who are looking at sales going, okay, well, we can't make anything unless sales sells something, right? So if everybody understands kind of what the goal is, what the plan is, how we're measuring that plan, what the activity needs to be around that plan, and we all have clear expectations, then it's easier for us to see through metrics or coaching where we need to pivot if the plan isn't on track. And many of those things that I just mentioned are places where many companies just fall flat because they don't have some of those things in place in order to make sure that salesperson is going to be set up for success.
Yeah, I would say that whenever I've faced a sales situation or when I was in sales, if there was even a sliver of doubt in the product that I was trying to sell, subconsciously I was already tanking everything. I just couldn't ethically sell something that I didn't believe in or was worried that was going to fail. So for me, that would have been one of my biggest things. Like when I sell for our company, it's very easy because I believe in what we do and I believe in us. So to me, when you work for your own business, it's amazing. But yeah, bringing on somebody that maybe a little bit removed or doesn't quite see the vision, I think that's a huge piece, is that coaching piece and trying to get them to buy into the culture and feel comfortable and want to do the best that they can, and spearhead a positive thing for them and the company.
Yeah, you have to love what you sell, right? You got to be passionate about it. And I think one of the critical pieces is after that salesperson's hired is the onboarding that has to happen. How do we help them understand what pains the product or service that we have solves? How do we message that to prospects? What kind of questions do we ask to elicit from the prospects, what their pain points are, and then how we build a solution around that. Oftentimes we get salespeople who want to they get so excited about their product, they just want to keep talking and tell the prospect all about how great it is without even stopping to consider asking some questions for the prospect. Telling isn't selling is the old adage, right? So yeah, loving what you're doing and being passionate about what you're selling certainly has to be instilled in that salesperson. But that's the whole reason they probably came on board with that company, is they loved what the company stood for or what they offered and could get their arms around it. And many times that's not usually the issue if the salesperson is not selling. It's one of those other things that we talked about earlier that often gets in the way of the salesperson being successful.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, what Alex was also speaking to is that when there is, so when he's selling us, for example, and all of a sudden we get to the investment piece, if there's a waiver, even a little bit in his own mind belief around the money
Yeah.
that he's asking for, they've already sensed that, because people will
Yeah.
interact with your energetic field before they even start talking to you. So they've
Yeah.
already kind of been like, oof, what's that? There's something kind of weird
Yeah.
here, right? So
Right.
there's
Right.
that connection piece from the salesperson to the belief that what product is or service is actually the solution. And there would have to be a conversationalist type piece that comes before, so that the salesperson can get a sense of, am I the right fit for this? We just don't want to sell it to you because you're another person. We want to sell
Right.
it to you because we have the right solution to your specific problem.
Yeah. That's exactly
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
I was going to say, Brian, I've actually been in the position where I've been in sales, and I was so overconfident in the product that the people would actually be insane not to buy it. So I made the
Yeah.
mistake of not connecting with them, not bringing my best self for. I let the product try and sell itself without me,
Yeah.
and of course that didn't work either. Man, I'm telling you, there's wisdom in failing. There's wisdom in going
Yeah.
through all these challenges. And I feel like uh, back then it would have been nice to know all these things ahead of time without
Yeah.
all the stumbling blocks. But man, talking to people like you and letting people know, like, connection is very important. There's people out there that can help you, especially early on in your sales. To you can't just be an amazing salesperson right away unless you were born to be a salesperson. And there are
Right.
those people; they're just naturally gifted.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said for being charismatic, but at the same time, I'll go back to, what I'll call methodology. There's their sales process. That's what happens from the time you get a lead to how you close the sale and the steps there. But the methodology is the how we sell. It's the tactical, it's the dialogue that you have with a prospect. And at the beginning of that sales call, you're building trust and building rapport because you're about to start asking them questions and you want them to feel like they can trust you. You found some commonality. And this is where the whole sales process and methodology really begins, is being able to allow people to know that you're human and that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So building that trust and setting that foundation for the rest of the call just makes the questioning go better, the how we position the solution with that client much better. And it's selling is a conversation. It's just a conversation between you and the prospect around where they're at and where they want to be, right? They either are in pain or they see pain coming, and nobody buys anything unless you've got at least one of those two things oftentimes. And it's quantifying the cost of doing nothing then, right? So if you're really good at being able to ask questions that get them to open up about, gosh, this is costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, why wouldn't I spend 10 to fix it or 20 to fix it?
Right.
It's just
Especially when
it's
especially when
cost.
you put it in that framework. It's like, oh, it's costing you 10,000 or $150,000, but there's a $10,000 solution. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes salespeople miss that piece of it. To your point earlier, you can't just be too confident in overselling your features and benefits. It's about the outcomes
Hmm.
that prospect wants as a result. They don't really care how you get there or what you do. They want the outcomes of what you're offering. So, but
I
getting to it is
really
hard.
love, yeah, oh sure, yeah. No, I really love what you said, that people um want to know how much you care before how much you know. That is like
Yeah.
brand gold right there, because I mean, in a way, your website is selling you, right? Your website has to do what you're doing for other people,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So there has to be
Absolutely.
so much human. And I feel like in your position, you are perfectly poised to speak in a very empowered voice. Because so many people, when they're coming looking for sales help, at that point, they feel like they've made a mistake. They're maybe facing some financial problems because of it. And
Right.
in that moment, wouldn't it be so great to land on somebody's brand and come into somebody's brand where they feel, you know what? I didn't make the wrong decision. It was the right decision. And there's a way to fix it or embellish it or enhance it, or there's gold in the mistake, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yes.
branding, the brand tone, the voice should be all empowering, because you got to think about how they're coming to you.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I let them know that they're not alone either. That's a lot of people think, wow, I'm an idiot because of how I hired the salesperson, or they feel like they've just, they can't, they've tried everything and nothing else is working. And it's like, it's okay. This is part of growing your business and learning. And, this isn't the only place in your business that you've made mistakes or, that you've learned. Hiring salespeople is much different than hiring anybody else in your organization. And it's also one of the more costlier roles if you don't get it right. So, I try to help people see that, it's just a matter of having a better process in place. Because I often ask them, how did you decide that this candidate was the right one? And talk to me a little bit more about your process. And inevitably, there's multiple things wrong in their process. Whether it's how they read a resume, because there's no such thing as a bad sales resume, right? They all look good. So where do you go from there? But
Yeah.
it's coaching them interview and try to find the BS in a resume, and helping them call that out so that they do feel confident and empowered and competent enough now that they understand that there is a better way to do this.
Yeah, I feel like hiring a salesperson for me would be I'm hiring an extension of myself. This person needs to care and want and see my vision and understand the goal. So when you're hiring an extension of yourself, well, you better know yourself because that's the same thing with prompting ChatGPT. If you're not prompting from a place of clarity, your output's going to be garbly-goop.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look at how many founders have started the business. They're the rainmaker of the business, and eventually, at some point, they want to grow and scale. They've got to bring on a salesperson. How do you transfer that knowledge? How do you transfer what's worked to get them there, and now transfer that knowledge to get them to the next level? So that salesperson carries, the same feeling and the same, positioning statements and whatever that founder did in order to get them there. How do we keep that going down the road?
Right.
Yep.
And not just churn and burn through as many salespeople as you can until you happen to get one that can stick around for a little while. I mean, I've been in companies that have had that too, where it's just a rotating door of salespeople, and whether it
Yeah.
be financial compensation too, it's you don't get paid unless you get commissions, and then you're just left to
Yeah.
your own devices. I mean, there's some sketchy things out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's some really good stats out there too. I mean, half the salespeople in America are in the wrong role just based on sales skills alone. I mean, that's a staggering number. The turnover rate is on average 33%. Only about two-thirds of sales reps hit their sales quotas in 2024. I mean, if you just start taking some simple numbers and you hire a salesperson, you want them to do $1 million, and let's just say for round numbers, you pay them $100,000. If that person turns over in the first 6 months, that's about a $750,000 hit, directly and indirectly to
Mm.
revenue and the cost that it took to bring that person on board. Now you got to start over and do that all over again. And I don't think a lot of presidents and founders really stop and think about the math. I mean, they see the hard costs, right? But they don't stop and think
Right.
about the soft costs that they just lost the opportunities. Maybe it's team dynamics, cultural, it could be, any number of things. So
Yeah.
it's just really important
I
to
would
get it
say
right.
that's your sales pitch right there. Boom. Nailed it.
That's your
Right?
sales pitch if your person knows the numbers. Because somebody like me, I don't even
Yes.
remember the last 30 seconds because you start talking numbers, I'm out. So I'm wondering then how many business owners know the very minute, detailed money things that they should, or are you dealing with somebody who's just kind of more the vision keeper?
Yeah. Well, the ones that come up through finance, they probably get it, right? But the ones who are, the
Right.
engineering minds or they came up through sales, maybe they get it. But yeah, it's something that a lot of people don't stop to think about, uh, for sure.
Yeah, and that's fair. So, Brian, do you have the sales DNA, or was this something that just kind of came up because of something else?
Do I have the sales DNA around how I sell what I do?
No, I think in terms of you as a person, like, did you know
No.
that you were going to be able to be like this sales super person, or was there something else that you were planning on doing besides sales?
No, you know what? By chance, when I got out of college, I opened up a music store. I was very entrepreneurial. I wanted to, sell CDs, and at that time it was cassettes. I know I'm dating
Nice.
myself, but right,
I would have been
doing
there
you
buying them
CD.
from you.
It was really fun building the business. I'm a builder and a fixer, right? So it was really fun going through the process of building, out the business and creating the music store. But once I got going, it was like, okay, this is dumb. This is retail. I don't like retail. So honestly, my father-in-law and my dad got me into sales. They said, you should really go into sales. And so I did. And quickly I became, one of the top appointment setters. I became, one of the top salespeople. And then they moved me into a sales manager role because that's what everybody does with their top salesperson, right? They put them in sales management. But I took and I built out a team then. I built out a division, an inside sales division of the company. And then I would leave that company and go do the same thing. And I would find structure in what I was doing to put these sales teams together and hire and make mistakes and hire again and learn. And I took a lot of what I've learned in sales because one of the first companies I worked with sold sales training, and they sold, motivational speaking and how to better yourself. And so all that stuff was just embedded in me for, early on. I think that's what's carried me through my career, is to be able to take that foresight and to go, okay, look, if we put some structure together and we just have a good positive attitude and we build the right systems around this, you can, grow your sales function and do this right. So to answer your question, I think, yeah, the sales DNA is there in me. And I found a niche in the marketplace. There's just a big gap that I'm like, I can take what I do and what I know and help other people avoid making the same mistakes and help them get their sales function in place.
I love that all of a sudden now I have an archetype to work with, the builder. I love that. So if we take that and think about, and I love to ask this question, if your gift wasn't sales specifically, and we were living in tribal times, what would your role be in the tribe?
Oh boy.
That's a
That's
hard
deep.
question.
It is. What would my role be in the tribe? Um, I think I do consider myself a leader. I take the lead on things. I tend to see, maybe visions or things other people maybe don't have that intuitiveness to see. Um, I'm still trying to answer your question. Um, is the context around what I would build in the tribe, or is it?
I'm trying to see how aligned we are to the builder, because right away what came up was that you are a visionary, a leader. You
Yeah.
see what the problem maybe or the gap, you see the gaps, but then do you follow that through with building the thing that's missing?
Yes, because I think I see things, I see the vision of things that maybe others don't. Just to give you an example, my wife and I have bought and sold real estate, and so we will go into a house that needs fixing up, and we see the potential, whereas other people look at the house and go, "Oh gosh, this is awful. I wouldn't possibly try to do anything with this," you know. So that's that fixer builder mentality that I have. So I'm always wanting to kind of take things from where they are to where we need to be in terms of helping make a better whatever, fill in the blank. That's, building huts to your example. It's building systems or environments that better the way that people live. Um,
Yeah,
I
I
think I'm
think you
getting
answered
to
it
an
right.
answer to your question.
No,
It
I
was
think
a
you did
good
a good job,
answer.
Brian.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
No, it's a good answer because I'm trying to get you into that higher framework of what is actually my superpower? What am I actually leaning into here? Because if it's not
Yeah.
going to be the actual building, if you're not going to take the hammer and the nail and you're not building the hut yourself, what you're doing is building the crew and directing them to go build the hut. That's a totally different thing, right? So, I
Oh,
mean,
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
are we the visionary leader or are we the actual builder? Like, I feel like I'm trying to think because you said something. I was like, oh, there it is. There it is. And it was, I see the potential. You see the potential. Like, yes, okay, there is the
Yeah.
gap that you see, the thing that's broken, but your superpower is that there's the potential vision that comes alongside it. Because some people just see the problem and they don't know what to do to fix it. And
Right.
that's where your clients are, because they know there's a problem, they see the problem, and then it's like this, they freeze right there. It's like, oh God, now what?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
Right. But
I
it's like,
consider myself the fixer. Yeah. I do see things and want to fix it or improve it, building it out. I enjoy that. And I got to a place where, I want to build it, fix it, improve it, whatever the thing is, and then be able to get out of the way and know that, that president or owner of the business can say, hey, I got this now. You've given me the tools, the resources, the systems, process, all the things that I need in order to carry this through. And for me, that feels like, okay, cool. We accomplished something, on to the next one. Right. So that's what energizes me, is getting something to a place where I can step back at it and go, oh, cool. We did it. Let's go do it again.
Nice.
feels very fluid to me, not like you're like anchoring into one company forever, but that you get to constantly come into new stuff, new problems, new people.
Right.
So I feel like with every client that you have, you must be learning something. There must be something that's like, oh, I love that I just learned that. I'm gonna apply it to the next person that I help. Or it just goes into your toolbox.
Yeah, all the time, all the time. And I think every client's a little different, but at the same time, I can apply my framework to every situation and still be able to, have those best practices in place for the organization, no matter what problems they have or where in their growth stage they are. I built a framework that I apply to every business, and if they take that framework and apply it to, how they want to grow, how they want to coach their people, how they measure the progress, all their systems that they use in order to do it, and the resources that they need, regardless of where they are in the issues that they have, I take note and just, oh, that plugs in over here, or this particular situation I can learn from and go, all right, here's how we solve that, and here's how I can help the next customer with that same type of problem. And it all still fits into, the framework that I'm trying to implement.
Right? That's exactly it. It's almost like I'm not as interested in the actual framework you created, but what was your process in building it out for yourself? Like your journey, your story is important to me, because I want to know that you walk the walk and you're out the other side, and all that knowledge that you gained along the way, because that's exactly where I am in my process, is that I'm just trying to build it myself, knowing that I have this beautiful framework waiting for me to keep me contained.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Over these last 23 years, I've certainly learned, a lot of things. And whether I've found ways to avoid making the same mistake, or I learned from somebody else, I'm taking all of that knowledge, even with my customers today, and saying, all right, I know where all the different pain points are, and now we just need a way to address those pain points, and build a solution around it, and make it repeatable, whenever I run into the same thing with other clients.
The interesting thing, Brian, is I just picture you in the future and how much more valuable you are, because you're getting gold with each and every project. So I actually don't see you retiring, because you're just too valuable.
Thank you. Well, and I got into this knowing that I can do this for as long as I want, and as long as I can keep helping people, and figuring out how to, scale the business so I can reach, more people out there. That's what will keep me going. As long as the problem persists, I know I've always got some value that I can share with somebody to, help get them to the next level.
Yeah, figure out a way to fire yourself and then hire some minions to go out and do the Brian Maas
Yeah.
technique
Yeah.
as they go. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But it's fun. Well, I mean, to me, this is a really exciting time for you, because I mean, how long have you been ventured out on your own right now?
I've been on my own about a year now, just under a year.
Oh, wow. So it's like, this is
Yeah.
fresh. This is super exciting. This is, it's going
Yeah.
to catch fire. And I just think that these are the things that we actually live for. This is what the 23 years of experience
Right.
has led you to. And now you've like taken that leap of faith on yourself. I love that.
Yeah. Because when I got into this, I started out as, kind of coining myself as the fractional sales leader. It's like, okay, I can take what I've done over the years and go and help a company and manage their sales team and, work with the owner, again, with all the systems and things. And, but I found that, at some point I would get bored with that because of just who I am. And as I started working with more and more companies and talking to more business owners and people that know business owners, I started finding this gap in this sales hiring. And I thought, wow, there's really something to this that I can get excited about. And so as I've grown my business over the last year, I've pivoted to, the hiring piece as my superpower. That's where it's where the pain is the greatest in most organizations and most sales organizations at that. So I've kind of shifted over the last, I'd say after the first couple of months I got going in my business, I started seeing this need in the marketplace and just thought, wow, there's something here. And my business has just really taken off in the last few months because of that vision that I'm seeing and the way that I'm positioning myself with, networking partners. When I tell people what I do, they're like, oh my gosh, I was wondering if I know somebody, so it's been really cool.
That's awesome to recognize the pain points. Yeah.
I like it that fixing the hiring problem is my superpower. I mean, that should be right there that should be front and center on the web. Fixing your hiring problem is my superpower. Your hiring failure lights me up.
Right, exactly.
Because there's somebody new. This is exciting to you. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm stepping up. I can help. I can help empower you to make this, what you perceive a mistake, something that's going to grow your business and put you back on top where you belong. And even in your last role, you called yourself a leader, so that leader energy is with you already. Like you've already embodied that. So now it's just a fact of leaning directly into that, being empowering so that you can empower others and letting them know, you know what, this lights me up. You don't want to ever have flat branding because you're so animated when you start talking about, I can fix this.
Yep.
So you need the branding to match
I am passionate
that, right?
about it for sure. Yes, absolutely. That's a great point.
Love. How many minutes in are we? Now I've heard the word passion. So, okay, let's dig into that. We want more passion. What about your childhood? What did you do when you were a child that got you all lit up?
Gosh, I think later on in my childhood, I really felt entrepreneurial. Like in high school, I would start thinking about wanting to own my own business. I would go to bars and restaurants or even nightclubs where they had under 18, and I'm like, I want to build a nightclub. I want to build a cool bar, or I want to, I was like really way over my head, with the visions that I had as a kid. But a lot of it was still the same mentality I have today, and that was like, I want to build something. I want to be known for something. I want to have a legacy. And I always thought about that as a kid, right? It's like, what can I be known for? And I don't know why that had stuck with me at that age, but as a kid, I mean, we did a lot of camping, we did some biking, I had a lot of friends. We spent a lot of time outside. You didn't have a lot of video games back then. There was no cell phones, so you had to get creative and figure out how you were going to, make a game so in my childhood, it just got to a place where I knew I wanted to probably have my own business someday, and that's why when I got out of college, I'm like, I'm going to fulfill this dream. I want to be able to write my own checks by the time I'm 30. That's what I told myself in high school. And by the time I got out of college, I was writing my own checks by the time I was 25, because I had this music store, and that's kind of where it all got started. But then going into working for other people and learning business, that all became very valuable to me. And jumping from business to business helped me just learn more and more about how other companies operate. And so today, I get to really enjoy watching how other companies operate. Even as a salesperson, I love learning about people's businesses. Learn is one of my, top strengths. I love to learn something every day. So I apply what I learn to, a lot of what I do on a daily basis. So.
Right. I'm hungry to learn about your business. That's another thing. Brian, your branding is popping out all over the place. I am ready to learn about your business because that's the thing that lights me up. Now, if I'm excited
Yeah.
about learning about your business, that means I already know how to hire people with you, right? Because I understand
Yep.
what it is to build something. And the other thing you said that was so wild to me was that I was writing my own checks by the age of 25. Like, what
Yeah.
young person even thinks about that? Right? Because we give
Right.
our power
Yeah.
away so quickly coming out of school to, well, someone's going to be writing my check for me, so I better do this and this. Wait a minute. There's a
Right.
mentality shift here where no, you can write your own checks. What do you want to be doing? So,
Yeah.
have you given any thought to mentorship? So, I'm talking about generosity in terms of setting up some time where young people can have a one on one with you so you can kind of guide them to this better way of thinking.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's something that I have thought about. How can I give back? How can I be a mentor? There's all kinds of programs out there like SCORE and others that, help, aspiring entrepreneurs or people who, are trying to figure out where they want to go with their careers, with their jobs. And I often meet with people, from time to time, just through networking, people who maybe are in job search mode, for no fault of their own, and so I get a chance to kind of pay it forward by really asking some of the tougher questions around what they really want to do and what do they enjoy and what do they see themselves and that's rewarding for me because usually out of those conversations comes some aha moments that they hadn't thought about, and that feels good. But trying to create a way where I can continue to mentor or give back is certainly something that I thought a lot about and probably need to execute here in short term because I think that would help kind of fuel just me and others around me too. So
Almost anchors your purpose because, and I have to say that especially for boys and men, there needs to be an uplifting. There's been so much focus on the feminine rising, feminine, that I feel like the masculine has
yeah.
been wounded. So we're dealing with wounded masculine energy. These
Hmm.
kids are coming up. For you to be able at this point in your life, and now we're in the same place here where we're pretty much midlife, everything that we've learned,
Yeah.
I feel like there's like this energetic responsibility to kind of look back at the generation coming up behind us and say, how do we help guide them a little bit so that it's maybe not as bumpy or not as frustrating, or
Yeah.
because they're coming up with a lot of residue from feminism and all sorts of stuff, right? So I feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
the stronger middle-aged, successful, joyful men who can connect back to our youth, they're the ones making the actual difference. And since you're a builder, you should probably build that program.
Yeah.
Oh, you just got
I
another
would
job,
agree.
Brian.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's certainly a lot to give as well as you grow your business. There's all kinds of things that you learn along the way, but there's a lot of people out there who, have great ideas that never execute on them,
Hmm.
and there's a
Hmm.
lot of people who have tried things and failed. And just because you fail doesn't mean, you should stop pursuing it. You hear so many stories out there of people who've, failed multiple times, and then it was that 35th time, something broke through. But helping people to just think bigger than they are and beyond themselves and just, having that mindset that anything is possible if you set your mind to it and just focus on what's the life you want to live. How
Yeah.
do you take what you do, what you're good at, what you're passionate about, how do you apply that, and yeah, I hate to see young people kind of get stuck in a rut or think that there's only, one or two paths when there's a whole big world out there if they just set their mind to it.
For sure. I've been wounded a few times. I have a few inventions. I have a few $1 million inventions on the shelf. I have a $1 billion invention on the shelf. And there's a lot of times where I feel like I'm just too um, ahead of my time. And I'm just waiting for time to kind of catch up to my
Yeah.
ideas. But man, listening to you, and I always have that little voice once in a while come back like, oh, you got to fire that back up. And it's so easy to get distracted and get taken away from the things that you really should believe in. And believe
Yeah.
in yourself, try, take that chance on yourself and do these things because I mean, you got these you have this intuition, you have these downloads for a reason, just because you were tuned
Yeah.
into it. And maybe the timing isn't totally right, but you shouldn't give up on it either.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and I think the timing is really key because, I worked for a sales consulting company many years ago, probably 11, 12 years ago. And at that time, I thought, well, I kind of want to go out and do my own thing and be my own coach and consultant back at that time. But, the kids were still in, middle school and high school. And I felt like I didn't have enough, knowledge and experience at the time. And lo and behold, I went to work for a couple more companies, and that really expanded my knowledge and experience. And by the time last year came around and I said, look, I'm going to go do this thing. It felt right. It felt like the timing was right. And I had learned enough and made enough mistakes and fallen down and gotten back up where I'm ready to go, and, got a lot to offer, and I'm glad I made the leap. And it's been a great road so far. So
Yeah, it's I just watched something the other day and it was really inspiring about how the tough times, the times that we fall down, the harder we fall and we keep getting back up, you don't realize it at the time, but you actually come out a lot stronger, a lot smarter, a lot
yeah,
more resilient. The only way you can fail is if you don't give up or you don't get
that's
up.
right.
And
Well said.
and that's what I've been trying to tell my girls too, because we're so programmed from school. Like you can't make mistakes. You got
Oh yeah,
everything has to be right. If you
yeah,
make a bunch of mistakes, you're stupid and these things.
yeah,
And it's like, you guys, some of the mistakes that I've learned in school and in life, those are the things that I remember the most. Those are the most valuable lessons. The things that come easy, I tend to take for granted. I don't even really pay attention to it. I pay attention to the things that I really want to get good at, the things that I'm not good at. And those are the things
yeah.
that drive me bananas because I'm a perfectionist. So
Yeah, you got to focus on what you can control. You can't let external factors and people tell you something that goes against your beliefs. You got to stick with your beliefs and focus on what you can control. And that's just some good words to live by.
for sure. Well,
100%.
we've come to the point where it's time for the question, right, dear?
It is. Before we get to the question, I just want to wrap
Okay.
everything up again because I feel
Yes.
like, yes, you're good at selling, you're great at selling, you've made this beautiful leap into this business, but I really feel like the superpower that you have is that you are so open to receive inspiration that you are then able to give that back, that you actually inspire. And I think that if you could redefine what to be a salesman is, you're inspiring something in somebody else and then letting that resonate with them. But you've already set up that framework of safety that, yes, we can have this conversation. I have your best interest at heart. Let me inspire you to dig deep and see if this is actually the thing. Like you already
Right.
possess that. You call it the sales DNA, but I really believe that you have this beautiful ability to receive inspiration, to inspire others, but then you also act on it. And that's the piece that so many people are missing. Like you are so great at acting on it. So you have so much to
Thank you.
offer in your business. It's so animated and passionate that it is going to be a joy to watch you bring that out.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. On that note, I do have a question left by the last person. What's your big audacious goal?
Oh, that's perfect for
Oh,
Brian. That's a perfect question for him.
it's a great question, especially because of where I'm at in my business. I thought, 6, 7 months ago that my big goal was to, work 30 hours a week and make enough money to be able to just live wherever I want and, live on the beach somewhere. That was my goal back then. Now my goal, I think, is starting to shift a little bit because I've been asked to kind of challenge myself about, how do I grow the business beyond me? How do I get this framework or system in place so that I can teach others how to do it and be more of an entrepreneur and grow the business, to, well beyond what I ever thought it could be. So I think my goal is to, right now, it's just exploring that further and figuring out, is that what I want to do next? Is that the next big goal that I want to set for myself, is going beyond me and reaching, a bigger audience than what I'm currently able to do just through networking or, LinkedIn or whatever it may be. So don't have a
It's
specific
a,
goal, but I think there's a next step out there somewhere that I'm
yeah.
just starting to realize, but I haven't been able to see it because I've just been getting my business off the ground in the last last year. And so it's just kind of been festering there. And I want to try to explore that more and figure out what that might look like. So
It's interesting being an entrepreneur because I don't think any entrepreneur goes into doing the thing that they love to do or the thing that they're really good at with the intention of firing themselves as quickly as humanly
right.
possible from that job and then actually focusing on running a business. It's so counterintuitive, but I feel like we don't take that leap unless we, get our hands dirty first and then almost reluctantly, you know, give our baby over to somebody that we can trust so that we can be that visionary.
Right. Yeah, I've always thought that's the hardest part about the business is how do you pass along your vision to others to do it in the same way that you want it done. Even when I had my music store, I had to hire somebody to run the store when I wasn't there.
Sure.
And my fear was that they're not doing it the way I would do it if I was in the store and talking to the customers in the way that I would do it. So trying to transfer that knowledge, to the thing I talked about earlier with founders when they hire the salesperson is very difficult. So I think a lot of it is we don't know what we don't know starting out, but we certainly figure that out as we go.
Right? Lead from inspiration. I'm telling you, that is the key. Like you just have to inspire the person you're hiring with the passion, enthusiasm, joy for the product or whatever it is, right? And then they kind of inherently
Right.
take that on. And because you've built a structure for them to flow within, we're all good. Then you feel really safe. It's like, no, there's a process here to keep my joy
Yeah.
moving in a way that actually makes the business run properly.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
For sure.
Awesome. So I need your question for the next guest.
Oh,
My question?
yeah.
Yep.
What do you want to know about the next person? Or what do you want to ask them?
Oh gosh, I thought the tribal question was hard. I think where I'm at in my business, the question I would ask is, how do you surround yourself with people, uh, mentors to help you stay focused on your business, so you don't feel like you're on an island all the time? I know there's like peer groups out there for owners, but how do you get
Yeah,
like
like
minds together to make sure that you're getting feedback on your business, and what are some good ways to do that? Oh yeah, you'll find a better way to word that question than how I did, but
I like that question though.
Got
It's
it.
like, what do you do to surround yourself with the right people and get inspired for sure.
yeah, I mean, especially for anybody who's a solopreneur. I mean, life can get lonely at the top, and oftentimes you're out networking and talking to people, but it's talking to other people who have the same or a similar business or in a similar position, as solopreneurs. What are they running into? How are they doing things? What are some of the lessons they've learned? How do
Mm,
you just continue to keep getting ideas and making sure you're on the right track?
for sure.
I got it.
Well, man,
No,
time just flew by, and I just wanted to
it
say
does.
again, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us on the Pear Genius podcast. I just want to remind everybody to go check out intentionalselling.com. I'll put the link in the description. Like, subscribe, share, follow us on all your socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all those things. And, tell a friend about how great
Tell
this
a
show
friend.
is. Tell a friend. I like our show. I think it's pretty fun, and
Yeah.
I want to share it with as many people as possible, and I hope everybody at home will do the same as well. And we'll see you on the next episode, and take care, everybody. Oh shoot, I forgot to say keep living your genius.
Right? Like I'm waiting for a tagline.